Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich, statewide news service, jbiztechvalley.com, and as you can see here, columnist for the Jewish Press.
Right, and I'm having a lot of fun with all three assignments. My column is called The Albany Beat, and I write about how government relates to the Jewish community or doesn't, as the case may be. Well, here we have our guest today is the head of a very small piece of government in the area here, probably the smallest piece of elected official that we've ever interviewed. He's the mayor of the village of Scotia in Schenectady County, Chris Kastberg. So welcome to the Jewish View.
How many people are in Scotia?
Just under 8,000 people.
And you know every one of them.
1.7 square miles.
And you know every one of them.
I taught in the high school there for 30 years, so I know I've changed some of their diapers, honestly.
So that's real interesting. Now I understand that Scotia has a birthday coming up, or they celebrated a milestone of some sort?
No.
It said, no, the historian posted something about the village birthday, February 10th.
Oh, okay. We celebrate that every February.
Okay.
That's the birth or the date of the incorporation of the village. So the village of Scotia until 1904 was a ward of the city of Schenectady. And then they broke free in February of 1904 was the first meeting of the first government of the village of Scotia.
My brother's birthday is February 10th, not 1904, but it's 50 years later. So.
All right, yeah. So we just have a celebration every February as the birth of the village.
Okay, so you're 1904 and 16, so that's 112 years?
Yep.
Okay. Well, keep going.
Yeah, we plan on it.
You're the head of it, you know. So, what do you like most about your job in the village?
I think I like most about building the village. So we've got a small community, and like you said, it's a very close community, but we're also a full service community, meaning that we have our own government, we have paid fire, police, public works, parks, our clerical. So it's been important to me to take those resources and just tailor programs that are unique to our village and put those out for our people.
You know, Mark and I have so many government officials, practically I think everyone in the Capital District, but one of the issues that the small governments are complaining about, but I don't see you complaining about, is that maybe you incorporated like a police department with another suburb. I don't know who's next to you over here after Scotia.
Yeah, the town of Glenville is...
It would be town of Glenville, yeah. And we have looked at those things.
Yeah, right.
Being as small as we are, in my personal opinion, the things that made sense were done way before consolidation became a buzzword, and the 2% tax cap made consolidation a necessity. So in my mind, you would consolidate services for one of two reasons. Either if you could provide the same level of service for a lower cost, or you could provide a superior service for an equal cost. And as we looked at things like our public works and our police, it just didn't work out that way. The services were drastically dropped to the village resident if we were to consolidate with the town. So we've done it formally, and it's not an easy thing to do. It tortures your employees because they don't know what their future will be. And so at this point, I haven't seen anything change since we did our formal studies about 5 years ago.
How many village employees do you have?
We hovered just over 50.
Do you have a residency requirement?
It depends on the position, and that's all based on civil service. But we actually have been abolishing our residency requirements one at a time.
Why?
With a village of 1.7 square miles, first of all, your candidate pool is very shallow. Secondly, in the case of something like a police officer, you stand a good chance of arresting someone one day and being behind them at the grocery store the next day. Yeah. So sometimes there's a desire for a little bit of a buffer there.
It's interesting.
Interesting, because I know, like, other municipalities are looking to increase their.
Yeah, and if you've got a population of 100,000 or several 100,000, your candidate pool gets much larger.
And then you can blend in more. You don't have to be behind the person
but
at the grocery store.
If you got 1.7 square miles and 8,000 people, you really limit your talent pool.
And you have, what are some of the amenities in Scotia that you are most proud of?
That we've done it program-wise, or what the village has to offer people?
Has to offer.
The downtown of our village is a service and restaurant strip. So the services are insurance companies, beauty salons, those sorts of
Yeah,
things.
you list all your businesses on your website.
I do. I did that myself, as a
And
matter
I
of fact.
think that was phenomenal. I'm
Yeah.
into directories and
That was
stuff.
a project I took a couple days, and I just made sure I touched base with everybody who was there. But, and we have a very strong restaurant presence in the village. For people who are traveling, we have the Glenn Sanders Mansion Hotel right there, and we have a new hotel project right now.
Really?
Being built, yep.
Really?
Yep.
And where might that be?
It's, if you go up Sacandaga Road, it's
Isn't
over-
it by the casino? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the impetus for it was the casino, but it's not over by the casino. It's in our small little village.
Well, we'll get back to the casino in a minute, but I
Okay.
just wanted to ask you, when I was in Scotia a couple of times over the past several months, and I went to visit your office, and it wasn't easy finding.
No.
But I found it, and I put a card on your door
Yeah.
saying, "Sorry, I missed you," like a politician would, you know,
Yep,
when they
yep.
don't see you at home.
It's still on my desk.
Oh, so, you know, what's going on with their office?
That's
I mean-
been my most difficult challenge. So this is my 10th year as mayor.
Wow.
When I became mayor, our streets, for the most part, were undrivable. They were in terrible condition. There was no budget for paving, so that was fixed. Our riverbank, which was one of the amenities I didn't get to, was eroding as much as 10 feet a year. It was imperiling the stage that we have for outdoor performances, and it was really, that was a $600,000 project. We got the funding for it, fixed that. And we've done a lot of different ones, but one of the glaring things that's been there forever is the age of our municipal facilities, both Village Hall, the fire department, and the police department. So
And it's sort of all in one.
it's all in one right now.
Yeah.
We're probably have gotten too big to have all in one still. But, you know, with the tax cap and the crash of the economy a few years ago, financially, didn't make a lot of sense to try to pursue a project.
I was just curious, I had to walk up the stairs, but does it have to be handicapped accessible? And
We're exempt because of age. I mean, we're kind of grandfathered in. And you probably didn't notice, but what
No,
I tried to do was get, you know, the chairs that go up the rail.
Oh, okay.
Because believe it or not, our court is upstairs.
You're right.
So if we have to arraign somebody who cannot make those stairs, the judge has to
Gotta
come
ca-
down and arraign them on the sidewalk. So it really is not a good situation.
I thought you would carry them up.
Maybe talk about the, I mean, the water there. Now, I don't know if it's Schenectady, but they always, when there's like in the spring and the ice is melting, it's always, oh, look out for Schenectady Community College. But that's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, we're very
Does it bother
close.
you also?
Well, Irene, we had a terrible flood, of course. And other times of year, we're on a channel that's separated from the main channel by an island, so we don't get the full flow of the river. So we have gotten some flooding, but a major flooding that damages property happens very rarely.
And it doesn't happen like the stockade gets it?
No.
No. Okay.
We have, I think during Irene, which was the highest flood we've had in a very long time,
Yeah.
we had 25 houses that were
Damage?
inundated, yeah.
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 Okay, so let's talk about some of the other amenities that either are coming or not coming. but-
Okay, what I'm very proud of is our municipal docks.
Yeah.
So they've become really, really popular, more every year, and we don't advertise them, it's all by word of mouth. But we're one of the few communities on the river where you can dock your boat, stay overnight with water and electricity, and then walk to a movie, dinner, grocery shopping, so we're getting more and more
That's smart
popular
of
with
you. I
that.
wonder why no one else thought of that. I mean, that's a very smart tourism project.
Yeah, well,
project.
they're thinking of it with the new casino, they're talking about it. And there are some private marinas in the pool that we're in, but they're away from municipality. So, you know, to be in the village, it would have to be a municipal dock, and that would be it was an expense. But we did it through grant money, and we did it as part of the bank stabilization project, and it all rolled together
You mean
well.
Land bank or bank?
No, riverbank.
Riverbank,
And when I talk
okay.
about the erosion,
Okay.
part of securing that riverbank
You just
was to
said
put these
bank, and I
docks in.
wasn't sure. I
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
All right, earlier this year, Ted Cruz came to Scotia. You're a Democrat.
Yep.
Did you cringe? Like, why me? Why do I have to?
Why did he come? Why did he pick
Well,
out
He was
Scotia out of this?
he was
area?
invited by the county Republican committee as part of his campaign. He made it a campaign stop.
Yeah, Mike Cuevas.
And, yep,
Yeah.
Mike Cuevas is the chair. So he came to Scotia because they had an auditorium in the McKeel Academy, which is a
Christian
parochial
school,
yep.
yeah.
And they did it by tickets only, because of the crowd would have gotten larger than the venue. Yeah. But I didn't cringe. It's it doesn't. Personally, I'm not a very strong partisan person, so if people are Republican or Democrat or Independent, doesn't matter to me. And it was a nice thing for Scotia. It brought people into the village to see it, and people were excited. So,
okay,
I was fine with it.
Oh, it brought me. So, but you didn't attend?
No.
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 That was too much.
I didn't really have a desire to. Ted Cruz was not my candidate, and I'm not somebody to chase after a candidate.
No, but just as a courtesy, when a presidential candidate comes to your village, just as a courtesy, I didn't, hold your nose and just, no, okay. No.
I stayed in the background.
Okay, fine. And then you had a couple of tragedies in your village. Mm-hmm. One was Dairy Circus.
Yep.
Anything with food and a fire is a tragedy for me. But Dairy Circus was sort of like one of those institutions that everyone flocked to, aside from, what's the other one on the water that they...
Jumping Jacks.
The Jumping Jacks, right. So,
yep.
But Dairy Circus was really...
I'm very close personal friends with the owners.
So why aren't they rebuilding it?
Well, it's a combination of factors. In order to rebuild fully, they would have been about $250,000 in debt to rebuild, restock, and all of that. Rob, the owner, is 56 years old, so he's looking at investing in a business, which he'd be his retirement investment at that age, hoping that within a few years he could resell it for what he spent rebuilding the business, and he wasn't sure of that. The second factor is, what you didn't see from the outside was a huge part of their business was their catering. And their catering business took them 7 days a week into the evenings. And when the building burnt, their initial reaction was, we need to rebuild. But when suddenly they weren't working 7 days a week, they said, oh, there's a life beyond running a restaurant.
There you go.
So I'm not sure where they stand now. I talk with them on a regular basis, and they're still struggling with what their final destination will be.
Because first you heard they're going to rebuild. Then you hear they're not going to rebuild.
Yep.
And you're saying that they're somewhere in between.
Well, they're looking what their options would be. I don't think they would like to go back into a business model that had them working 7 days a week.
Right.
But they're too young to sit around doing nothing.
But I didn't think that, well, I mean, what part of Dairy Circus was catering? I think of ice cream.
You would be amazed at the amount of catering that went out of that kitchen and the vacuum that's been left in our area by their departure from the catering.
But I mean, they didn't have meats on the ground. There was a dairy. So what was...
Well, you buy your product as any other restaurant would. They prepared it in the back kitchen there, and they did anything from weddings to parties to...
First I heard that it was catering. I never saw that.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that, so.
I never saw their books, but I would guess the catering was the larger part of their business.
Well, I have a friend who owns a couple of ice cream places, and I thought that's what Dairy Circus was like an ice cream place that's open, from, let's say, March till October maybe. And they make as much business in those months, and then they take off the other.
A year-round restaurant, very heavy breakfast business.
Okay.
Later in dinners, a heavy lunch business.
Yeah.
They were adjacent to a corporation park, an industrial park. There's 3 schools close by, so they did a good business.
Wow. Okay. So you looking for anyone else to open up on that spot? If they don't?
Right now, he's talking with some food trucks to kind of fill the vacancy, and he's got the property on the market.
So it's his land?
It's his land, yeah.
And the village can't do anything? I mean, you hear about the governor and all these state programs and economic development, and nothing can be done?
It depends if he has a potential buyer. So if a potential buyer comes in and is looking to develop, that's when you start putting those mechanisms into place. Right now, it's just on the market, so.
Okay. So let's...
we have a place, a unit called Metroplex.
Right.
You might be familiar with.
Yes.
They'll get involved when someone else is involved to help support them with a project.
Okay, good. So now let's talk about something else just generally before we get to casinos. Amtrak. You have Amtrak trains coming through your village?
Yep.
and people like to go across the Amtrak trains?
My house is at the entrance to that crossing.
Wow.
I live there.
So why do you cross the tracks? Is it something, yeah?
Yep. Youth and adults cross the tracks all the time, and it's because of the physical layout of the village.
Yeah.
So on my side of the tracks is the old village of Scotia,
Uh-huh.
the village proper.
Uh-huh.
On the other side of the tracks is a newer development, still in the village of Scotia. And the only way to get from one to the other is to go out 1,000 yards, across a bridge on Route 50, and then come back in.
Uh-huh.
If you want to walk,
Yeah.
the much shorter route is to take that crossing.
Uh-huh.
So in most cases, crossing there is as safe as crossing any other road. There's only one vehicle at
Right.
a time going by. So in
Well,
most
why
cases,
can't you
that's-
hear a train coming down?
What I learned is
Yeah.
that in the front of a fast-moving train is a vacuum, a sound vacuum. And if you are directly in front of the train, you can't hear the horns or the train itself.
Oh.
How far ahead?
I don't know.
It's interesting. I mean, so with this girl killed, it really wasn't her fault? I mean, I didn't,
It was
that's all
a-
I
it
heard
was a
10-second
16-year-old.
blurb on the
It was-
radio. It's a girl, I mean,
It's a
a
very,
kid.
it's a personal tragedy, but it was nothing more than a terrible accident.
Really, she
it was
wasn't just
what it
playing, some
was.
dumb kid playing on the tracks or something?
It was a,
like that?
momentary incident that caused a terrible accident.
Did you hear it? Were you home?
I was there, yes. I
You
was
were
home.
there. So that must have, and you must have known, I mean, like I said, you know everyone in the
I
village.
was on the
so-
scene in minutes, yeah.
In minutes.
So,
Well, I'm sorry for
Yeah.
your
I'm
loss
sorry
for
for
the
the family.
village.
It's,
Yeah, for the family and the village.
like I say, it's a
and-
terrible personal loss, and if we look back to the smallness and the closeness of our community,
Yeah.
it's a pain the whole community feels right now, so
All right, well, let's talk about some happier times
Okay.
coming up,
gladly.
and that's the casino.
Well, if you lose your money, you ain't gonna be too happy.
You know
Not
what?
everybody's happy there.
It's not his money that he's not losing his money. I mean, he may not go, but it's a lot of jobs and a lot of economic development and just a huge entertainment venue. Even
Right.
if you don't want
And
to
that's
gamble,
it's in
you could
Scotia
still.
itself?
Yeah.
It's in the city of Schenectady. So you'd be able to see it from the Scotia shores, but it's in the city of Schenectady.
Uh-huh.
You're
But
gonna
it's-
have any reverberations into your...
Well, that's what we're looking at. So we do have this one hotel project. It's a 60-room hotel going up
Do you have
in
a brand,
anticipation of people wanting a lower price point hotel.
do you have a brand name of what?
Yeah, but I can't come up with it.
You can't come up with it? Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
A Comfort Inn.
Okay,
You
thank
jogged my
you.
memory. It's a Comfort Inn.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's being done, it's replacing an older, I think it's a 5-unit motel. The owner who's putting it up has been a very good businessman in our community, has done several projects, and they've all come out well, so I'm optimistic that this is going to be good. And I'm talking with the Schenectady Downtown Improvement Corporation about how we move people from the village of Scotia into Schenectady, because Schenectady is trying to set itself up as a convention center. So they'll have the big hotels, the casino, but once people are there, they
Right.
have to get other places, so they're looking at that now, and including Scotia in that plan.
And how much money do you get? I mean, with this casino, and there was a split. I mean, like City of Albany's getting money, or Albany County's getting money. You had Rensselaer.
Right now, the city and the county are getting the money, and the county will decide how that money's dispersed, and that hasn't been determined
Really?
yet.
So there was nothing in writing that involved Scotia.
No.
Wow. Are you disappointed about that?
I knew that it was going to be that way, so I can't be disappointed because I already knew. But I'm hoping that as the new sales tax agreements come out, that there'll be a little change, because there's going to be a bump in revenue once the casino's open.
You hope.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm optimistic.
Are you concerned at all of what's going on in Atlantic City and even Vegas, where
Yeah, I think we're
casinos are not
fortunate.
really?
I think the village is fortunate that the casino is not in the village. We're buffered, it's in the city. We're not seeing a lot of new building or development in the village
Right.
based solely on the casino. So, if things don't work out as profitably as some people imagine, I don't think it's going to really affect us.
But are you concerned about having this large empty building just sitting there that you could see from your shores. I mean, I think of Kutcher's, I think of the Catskills, Kutcher's and Grossinger's,
Yep.
where they had these, buildings that started to just crumble before everyone's
Yeah.
eyes.
I don't really have that concern, and I think one thing that helps the Schenectady Casino is the Saratoga racing season. So I think you're going to see a boost during the racing season where people go to the track and maybe come to the casino. I mean, the difference is that, this casino will have real table games and that sort of thing. So, it could be an excursion for the Saratoga crowd, which is always a money crowd. As far as the local crowd, I think they're going to have to make their business model to fit what their clientele is. If you take a look at something like Turning Stone, it's solely a destination.
Right.
But a casino based in a city, hopefully you can depend on at least a regular stream of people that come just for an evening or something like that.
And Turning Stone, aside from being just the small casino that it envisioned when it first opened, when I was there for the opening, now they have a golf course and they have a hotel and they're huge. They're much bigger than what they were, and that was because the small casino was a destination, and everyone was giving their money to.
Yeah. That's why I think they're going with the idea of being a convention destination and, linking with, like you say, the local golf courses and some of the other.
No pun intended, linking.
Recreation. Yeah,
golf.
right. That's a good
linking.
one.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention.
So I think they're working on their business model. I think it'll be good for at least
20 years.
A while, yeah.
At least a generation.
Do you think other things will come to Scotia? I mean, because a lot of times that they were just saying they have enough restaurants in these casinos where people say go in and get out.
Yeah.
They're not there won't be so much overflow, even a gas station or something.
Right, and we may, and I think the idea of, there's even a business person talking about a river taxi to put in to get people from the casino to bring them to Scotia and some other places. So that's possible, and those are all nice things. I don't think any of them are seen by me or anybody else in the village as a potential boon to our economy or anything like that.
It's not a panacea.
No.
It's a nice addition for as long as it lasts, and that's the end. Okay. Anything else about the casino that you want to enlighten us about, or?
No, I like the way it looks. I was very interested in the whole idea of this lagoon they put in.
Yeah.
Because the river, when they drain it, goes way down to just the channel, and then in the spring it floods. So I was interested in the engineering of that, but it looks like they did a good job. So I was a little apprehensive about how that was going to look in the low water times, but it looks like it's going to be nice.
Well, you learned, didn't you?
I did.
It's learning, yeah. You're now the water engineer. Okay. What about your, just to switch topics here, your dog park? They have a dog park in Scotia. They got a very nice dog park.
We do. We do.
Do you separate the dog park for small dogs and large dogs?
Yep.
Because Bethlehem has one large area for both small and large dogs, and it gets a little hairy at times. But now the town of Bethlehem's looking to separate. Yeah,
we built our dog park with our own labor. We had a committee. We put a citizens committee together that designed it. We're just about to make a change for the small dogs because ours has a small dog area, but you have to enter the large dog area and then go into the small dog. So we're moving the divider so it has a separate entrance.
Okay.
And we just talked with the company today. We're actually installing a key fob system. So to enter the park, you'll have a fob that identifies the user, the time they logged in, the time they came out. It disables the gate after hours, so people can't go in after hours.
Right.
And
don't tell Bethlehem that you're doing this.
Well, what we want to do is make sure that the people that use the park have registered their dogs, and make sure that they've got their immunizations and all that kind of stuff.
That's the reason. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just to lock it up. That's why. All right, you understand. You don't want anybody coming in after hours.
We're in an unusual location. So the park that our dog park is in is bordered by the town of Glenville. And if you're a Glenville resident, you have to pay $50 a year to be able to use our park because you don't pay any taxes in the village of Scotia. If you're a Scotia resident, it's free. So when you register your dog, you get your fob and you can get in. And what we have now are people that should be paying a fee but are using the park without getting a license.
How much is it to register the dog in the village?
It's free if you're a village resident.
So it's free to register, it's just paperwork?
Yep. You just have to show your immunization record and distemper shot,
Okay.
And then,
Oh,
then
that's
you get about-
that's good.
yeah.
The Bethlehem should hear that, because they charge residents for
We have
registering
split,
them.
for all of the things that we offer residents, we have split fees. So if you're a village resident, you pay a lower fee because you're supporting our parks with taxes.
Of course.
And if you're not resident,
It's a good idea.
you have a higher
It
fee.
makes perfect sense.
But just to kind of lead on from the dog park, so in the last few years, we've done our dog park. We've started a community garden that's open to
Yeah.
village residents. We started a boat rental program on our lake.
Oh,
And we have a large pavilion that'll seat 100 people that's been very popular. So
and what's the boat rental? How much?
it's $5 an hour for a
non-resident.
resident and
Oh.
$10 an hour for a non-resident.
And what is it, rowboats or
We have canoes, kayaks, rowboats, and hydro bikes.
hydro bikes?
It looks like a bicycle
Yeah,
on
yeah.
pontoons. Yeah.
Right, so, but you don't have any motor
No.
boats or anything
No.
like that? No, not getting to the gasoline thing?
No, no
Okay.
gasoline. If you
It
come,
goes on the Mohawk?
no, we have Collins Lake in our park.
Oh,
And, yep, Collins Lake is, I don't know how many acres it is, but it's full of good fishing, very good fishing.
How did you come up with, what's the origins of Scotia, of the name Scotia? What's the
well,
derivation of it?
It was settled by a guy named Alexander Glenn, who was from Scotland. And the settlement reminded him of his home in Scotland, so he
Right.
named it Scotia. And
For
so,
Scott, Scotia for Scott?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And so now you have Scotia and Glenville.
Right.
Scotia's in the town of Glenville, so.
Right. But I would think Scotland, like, we have the town of New Scotland in
Yeah,
Albany.
yeah, I'm not sure
But-
how it morphed into Scotia, but.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought, you have Scotia Plaza.
Well, that's someone's last name.
And right,
Yeah.
and I thought maybe his family, Scotia,
No.
Scotia, you look at,
Yeah, no, it was the name of the original estate that was settled there.
all right. And you have, what's this Abraham Glenn House? This historic house?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that serves as our library
Oh.
right now. But it was one of the earliest houses built in the village. It's still, in a lot of cases, in its original form. So it's very interesting to go in the upstairs of it, where the
Yeah.
bedrooms are tiny and heated by fireplaces, and that's still all original.
1730s?
Yep. Yep.
Wow, that's a,
And he was
preparing for the 300th anniversary of this?
son-in-law of Alexander Glenn, so he built that house.
okay.
And so we own it, but we lease it to Schenectady County, and they use it as a branch of their library.
Isn't that phenomenal?
Yeah.
And this Holland House that was built in 1914. 1914 doesn't seem like so old, but
No, and I don't know the Holland House.
it's Minder's Mansion. Minder's Mansion? No?
That's new to me.
Wow, it's on your website.
It must be my
Got it-
historian.
Got it off your
It's got to
website.
be my historian.
And what about the Flint House in the early 19th century?
Yep. So the Flint House is now our village museum.
Okay.
And the Flint property is where we have our dog park and our community garden.
Oh, okay.
It's about 7 acres that was willed to the village of Scotia, and at the point that it was willed to the village of Scotia, it wasn't actually part of the village, so it had to be annexed into the village.
Oh,
And that's why it's right on the border of Glenville, as
Yeah.
I said.
Right.
And so now we have the Flint House, and our historian is based there, and we hold open houses and events there. It's kind of a nice little out-of-the-way place.
it is. So now the Glenn Sanders Mansion, parts of it was dating back to 1713.
Yep.
Now that's a while ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So what's any history about Glenn Sanders Mansion?
Well, there's some local fables of when the Indians attacked
Yeah.
and entered the building and chopped the banister, and that's still there. I
Yeah.
mean, so some of the earmarks of that building, being as old as it is, are still there. It's been obviously expanded to a large restaurant and
Yeah.
banquet facility, but.
Okay. Anything else you want to mention we didn't know enough to ask you about the village, or did we cover every 1.7
You've gone
square?
from one end to the other. The only thing I would do is I invite you guys, if you haven't, if you're just passing through on your way to Galway, stop in. We've got a lot of great restaurants, and it's
No,
really
kosher restaurants. You got to be a kosher restaurant.
Yeah.
Got to get one of
Well,
those.
go to the park, maybe go on the rowboat.
We're always looking for something new.
But you have a nice theater. You have a nice.
We do. Yep.
You know,
And
that's.
that just expanded. They just put in new seats, and that's a very popular place in the
But
village.
how old is that theater? Because it has like an old marquee. in there.
I'm going to say around the 1920s. It was built in the 1920s. I can't tell you the exact year.
Yeah, okay.
But once again, the balcony and everything is all original there. And then he pushed the back out to make the theater bigger.
Right.
Because it's such a popular venue.
I thought you'd tell me it rivals Proctor's.
It's not as ornate. It's not as ornate. But the prices are way better.
Okay, all right, thank
Thanks
you.
very much for being on the Jewish View, and a lot of success for what you're doing, and maybe Mark and I are going to have to take a tour of Scotia.
Great, great.
All
Thank
right,
you.
continued
Thank you very much.
success, yes.